Morning, everybody. How the hell are you? I'm recording in stereo now. I don't know if this will sound different, but I noticed yesterday I was recording in mono for some reason. I have a feeling like a setting got changed or an update like switched it off. Because I swear to God that the God that I don't believe in that I'm pretty particular about my settings. I'm usually pretty thorough about like checking all that stuff. It was set to a high quality um, of like sound. I don't know how to say it because I'm not that big of a techie. It was high quality audio or bit rate or whatever. Um, but it was recording in mono. So I don't know what's up with that. So that's frustrating as someone who has to like piece together some high quality product at the yeah, that's fun. Um I'm sitting here on the couch. It's 8:23 a.m. Friday, September 13th. Ooh, Friday the 13th. I think Eminem has a expanded edition of his most recent album, The Death of Slim Shady, comes out today. So I'm gonna have to check out what kind of bonus songs there are. I've been awake for over an hour, but my body's still trying to wake up. It's always great to record and try to force yourself to have complex, deep introspective thoughts right when you wake up. That's great. That's a good recipe for success. um, Dude, I had my first dream. I can't even tell you. I can't even think of how long it's been since I had a vivid dream. I feel like I maybe have only had like two dreams this year. Like I I don't dream that often anymore. Especially I know when you use cannabis, it shuts off, and that's creepy. It like turns off your brain's ability to have dreams for some reason, and it can actually be useful um, for people, I guess, who have like PTSD dreams. I feel like I have those dreams. Last night was kind of a stressful dream. I've heard that dreams are like your worst nightmares and your greatest dream or your biggest hopes. I don't know if that's true, but it seems to. I don't think it's true because I've had a lot of really mundane dreams. I did have a dream last night that I think it had something to do with being in a skyscraper because I remember being afraid of heights in the dream. And then I think I had a dream of being late somewhere again, which has been like this lifelong kind of nightmare thing that I have. So I've had since high school. And only high school because I was homeschooled for so long, so there was more flexibility if I didn't get going right away. I would just have to do schoolwork longer into the evening, and that created its own. I mean, that was planting the seeds for anxiety right there, where it's like I wanted to be done. The sun's going down. I want to watch TV. I want to like go play or something, and I'm like, it's like 6 p.m. or something. Um, so it wasn't until I started going to public school in the 11th grade that I really had that pressure to like, you got to be somewhere every day at a specific time early in the morning. And it was especially hard because I was like trying to work through high school too, like have a job. And think it was my senior year. I don't know if it was my last 2 years. I can't remember though, but the job I had at the Marriott was like I would get home late, dude. I would get off at like I want to say it was like 11, and then I would get home and I would be going to bed at like 1 a.m. or something, and then I would have school. I would have to be at school at like 8 a.m. or something. It was ridiculous. Thanks, Mom and Dad, for all the advice. I mean, thanks, Mom and Dad, for not giving me any advice that was useful. Just like that's another reason I'm trying to. I do this. I wanted to do the podcast. It helps keep me accountable, and it hopefully gives a little bit of actionable advice, like meaningful advice to people who can try to implement something in this mess that they can apply, because we don't get great advice from everyone in our lives all the time, if any. I've gotten so much just like empty, hollow advice that's just like, yeah, you haven't experienced this. I don't know why you're saying anything. Just don't add to the mess. Don't add to the noise. Or if they have experienced something, it might be 100%, like 180 degrees different than what your experience was, and they're trying to act like they do it their way, and their way is often what I see is like kind of more neglectful, and it's more clumsy, and neglectful can mean neglecting yourself too, and neglecting the root of the problem, what your boundaries are, what your needs and wants are. So just really, really like pursuing the knowledge has been really important for me, to get a well-rounded, get lots of opinions, if you can, and then just try to like put them on a scale, man. Try to balance, like weigh it out to see like which direction it's leaning, because it can be paralyzing to get too much advice, and especially if you're not clear-headed and you come from a traumatic background. Clear-headed, I'm talking about drugs people, and just trauma and stuff, that it can be hard for us to develop those senses and those instincts again, and to really nurture those instincts that we need to make healthy decisions, and do them in a timely manner, because that's been a struggle for me too, of like making decisions before things get worse. But then there's like other situations, I'm waking up with like congestion, but it's horrific. It's like the gagging, and like I'm gonna throw up because of this perforated septum that fucking doctor like gave me. And so I have like this shame and frustration that a couple years ago now, was it a couple years ago? Yeah. A year and a half? At least a year and a half? Maybe 2 years ago? I don't remember. When I had the surgery for the congestion, and they made it worse. So my intent was, I'm going to pursue this thing, and it's going to make my life better. It's going to fix this thing I've had for years, where it's like I can't even really breathe out of one of the nostrils. And this surgery is going to help. And it helped a little bit, but it created a whole new issue that I never had a struggle with before. And now I have this like post-nasal drip thing, like drainage. It's essentially just drainage in the back of your throat, because it gets hung up in the perforated septum, and it just it's like having like when the doctor puts the stick on the back of your tongue, and it makes you want to gag, and that's kind of what it does. It's horrible. And to experience that almost every day for like a year and a half and not really be in the situation to fix it again, or to be really paranoid and scared now of trying to fix it, because I tried to fix this other thing with the first surgery and they made it worse. So why would I have any faith in any doctor ever again when I keep having these negative experiences with them? And you're trying to fix something and then they make it worse. It's very vulnerable, and it really creates like distrust and paranoia and anxiety and depression. And it's like, am I gonna die? Is this something else? I was reading about, I think it was like cystic fibrosis or something. I'm like, do I have that? What is happening? Was I like misdiagnosed with Crohn's and it's something else? And it's scary, man. Trying to advocate for yourself is fucking scary and hard work. I'm in it with you guys. Let's do this, man. Let's do the just for today. I'm gonna pull it up right now. I have a missed phone call. Who the fuck is calling me? Jesus Christ, who are these people? 8 o'clock in the morning, they're calling me. Let me find out real fast. Alright guys, I'm back. I'm back, motherfuckers. Yeah, I got scared there for a minute. I was like, that was from the place I interviewed with yesterday. And I was like, oh no, I uploaded that video of doing the just for today. That was my first upload yesterday on YouTube. And immediately, like, part of the self-doubt and paranoia and anxiety and depression and lack of confidence, my brain is going down that road of like, they listen to it, they don't like it, they're off put by it, they think it's unprofessional, I don't know, you have those doubts, I have those doubts, that people are looking for an excuse to not do business with you. I keep saying you. To do business with me or to associate with me, or they don't believe in what I'm doing. People get kind of freaked out when you talk about drugs or religion or politics or issues with the family. There, I think, is a nervousness with some of that stuff. And cussing too, that can be viewed as like this, you're unhinged or unprofessional and unstable type stuff. And I get some of those concerns, but I do have like a transparency about my intentions and where I'm at in my life, and the self-control and professionalism is really important to me. And there's this fear of like, or this, there's this desire to like find the people that accept you and accept all those things, and where you're safe at and where you can be nurtured at and you can grow and find stability. And so if you're in a desperate situation like I am, with no supports and no money, and you're in between jobs and you're moving and you're in debt, and it's fucking scary. And you kind of have to take it's like you gotta like look for those right jobs, but then it's like you don't want a job that they're gonna reject you at and say, well, I don't like this. We want you to be a slave for us, but we don't like your creative side. So it's like, yeah, why would I want to work for a company or an individual who has that view of me? I don't want to associate with those people. So there is kind of this journey of like finding your people, finding your tribe. But when you're desperate and it's like urgent and the clock's ticking and you need a job within a month, what do you do? Like if you start feeling like you're getting rejected, but then it's like, so I'm being rejected because I'm being told I can't be my real self or something, or share my experiences or talk a certain way. That can get disturbing pretty quick. And there could be real life consequences to that stuff. It's troubling. And it just snowballs and adds to all these issues. Anyway, that wasn't the case. It was good news. It was like an informal offer that they're moving forward with it, and I'll probably get an official offer Monday after the weekend. Primo. That's what I need. That's what I wanted. Primo. I've been saying this mantra lately that I feels kind of like bullshit at first, but I think the more you say it, the more it can become real. And it's not, and what it is just, I can cope with anything. I can cope with anything. And that's not to say I will deal with abuse or things that violate boundaries. But that I'm just gonna keep, if I have a setback, I'm gonna keep fucking trying. I'm gonna keep at it. I'm gonna make an adjustment. I'm gonna take that feedback. It's not necessarily I'm gonna change everything about myself, but I'm gonna keep casting that net. Just keep going out there, man. Keep looking for your tribe and just take action. You can breathe, you can take a break, be gentle, be patient, but there is like that urgency of keep at it, keep taking action, keep pursuing what would you call it, like realistic leads. They're gonna lead you somewhere more to a healthier situation is the hope and the goal. All right, let's kick this thing off. So it's 9:39 now. I also watched the Murdergram music video again with LL Cool J and Eminem. Damn, that thing is so catchy. It's just like in my brain. From the second I heard the teaser beat, I was like, whoa, yeah, I like it. They did like a teaser trailer or something. Fucking phenomenal. I love it. Check it out, guys, if you like hip hop. Great beat, great flows, great lyrics. Really fun song. So if you're trying to get pumped up, trying to get out of your head, put that song on repeat a few times. I played it about 20 times driving up to Paso Robles, I think to pronounce it. Paso Robles. And then back down to Tescadero. Um, let's get some other stats here going. What do we got for temperature today? Right now it is 62 degrees outside my door. I'm in a studio right now too. It's a little, like, they call it an artist studio. It's like a little, like, guest, like, granny flat. I don't like that. The in-law studio granny flat, so stupid. It's a studio. It's a artist studio sounds more accurate than granny flat or in-law. Anyway, it's gonna get up to about 85 degrees today. Do I need to do anything else here? I don't think so. I mean, I'm just so out of the groove of having, not, it's not a script, but my notes. I don't have my notes like how I used to record the show with Ashley. Fucking bitch. More to come on that. I have not posted anything. I have goddamn like hundreds of hours of content that I'm just sitting on. I've recorded over the past few years since the disillusion. That's not the word. The dissolving, the fallout of that relationship. There's gonna be so much stuff I have to like go through and upload. I'll get to it, people. One day at a time, right? Am I right, guys? One day at a time. All right, let's read this. That's what I'm forgetting, is I need to actually pull up the Just for Today website. I got it bookmarked on my phone. September 13th, 2024. Something different. Read along, people, if you want. Something different. We had to have something different, and we thought we had found it in drugs. Mm-hmm. Many of us have always felt different from other people. Amen. We know we're not unique in feeling that way. We hear many addicts share the same thing. We searched all our lives for something to make us all right, to fix that different place inside us, to make us whole and acceptable. Drugs seemed to fill that need. When we were high, at least we no longer felt the emptiness or the need. There was one drawback. The drugs, which were our solution, quickly became our problem. Hey, that's kind of what I was talking about with the fucking, like, the nasal surgery. I don't like that word. I'm sorry I keep talking about it. One drawback to drugs, because once we gave up the drugs, the sense of emptiness returned. At first, we felt despair because we didn't have any solution of our own to that miserable longing. We didn't have any solution of our own to that miserable longing. But we were willing to take direction and began to work the steps. As we did, we found what we'd been looking for. That's something different. God, I'm okay. Today we believe that our lifelong yearning was primarily for knowledge of a higher power. The something different we needed was a relationship with a loving God, capital G, I see. The steps tell us how to begin that relationship. Just for today, my higher power is the something different that's always been missing in my life. I will use the steps to restore that missing ingredient to my spirit. I don't have a familiarity with the steps because I haven't been in the program. I got started on this because of I did a little stint for a month and a half, about 45 days. 45 days, 6 weeks. an RADT, which is a registered alcohol and drug technician at a rehab. And it was the job I liked, the task, but the fucking owner was a nightmare, and the program director, nightmare, just real piece of shit people. Um, and that's my professional opinion. They violate the law and they violate ethics. That was my observation and experience, and they fired me from that job after they told me I'll get into that, all that stuff. So I've done voice memos, recordings on all that shit. But while I was there, and I was really honored to be there, I was really proud to be there. I took ownership of that position. I believed in the position. I believed in the people, the clients. I believed in myself. I believed in, uh, yeah, I thought it was going to be a dream job. And they kicked me out of that in the most inhumane, horrific way. It was a live-in position, and they gave me either 1 day or 1 week to move out after they told me I was doing a stellar job. Um, it was complete nonsense. That the essentially no terminated me without cause. The only thing that I was told was that they had this fear that I would leave or quit, and that their training would have been a waste of time. That was a bullshit reason. I think it was because I was challenging how they had this expectation of house supervisors, which was my role, to be on duty 152 hours a week. So you only get 16 hours off a week, which was fucking nuts. So I brought up concerns of burnout and the logistics of it, and some of the practices they were doing, the ethics, and um, how they were going back and forth with telling me to do it one way, I would do it that way. Then they said it wasn't the right way, and it was nonsense. And they decided that I was the problem, not them, and that um, I what my impression was, and what other people have kind of also said, was that because it was like a test to see if I would go along with their little clique of violating the law and violating ethics. And I think they picked up on it pretty quick that I follow the rules. I definitely come from a background of being rebellious with my parents and authority figures. I would definitely challenge my parents constantly, and um, when I would go to like the homeschool. I don't even know what to fucking call it. The private homeschool academy where all the homeschooled nerds would go. Uh, to some fucking church and do different classes twice a week. And then I did it at another church um, a couple times a week. And then I went to public school. I've challenged like situations at jobs before, so I've talked back when I was in high school when I got pulled over for a speeding ticket. So like stuff like that, it's like it's it's definitely was a characteristic that I developed as a way to advocate for myself and try to protect myself. Um, yeah, the whole point of all that was just to say that like that's kind of where my first exposure to like the 12 steps and dealing more, uh, dealing with people trying to become sober that are in recovery, working on themselves. I would have loved to have stayed there for at least a year, so it was kind of heartbreaking to go through that mess. So I don't want anyone to get the impression that I'm like in the program or that I have all this expertise and knowledge and um, or that I'm trying to pretend that I'm part of this group or something that I'm just trying to contribute and I'm trying to challenge myself with some of these things too because they're just good practices I think for people in general. And yeah, so that's all. I like support them 100%. I led some of those groups. There's a small like couple people, few people at a time. But we would read these passages, and that was in the morning, I think, at like 9 a.m. I think we would do it. We would read the Just for Today passage, Just for Today NA, and then in the evening at 7 we would do like a kind of daily question, and like kind of journal and do the question prompt, whatever the prompt was for that day. So yeah, that's kind of my background on this stuff and just like my lifelong struggle with alcohol is not a challenge for me anymore. But goddamn did I struggle in the past with it throughout like all my 20s. My entire 20s were just like getting obliterated on alcohol. Not obliterated, but because I wouldn't drink until I blacked out or anything. But it was like binge drinking, and I would drink a lot, regularly, and it was a lifestyle. It was a way for me to cope. It was a way for me to have sex. It was yeah, and then at the same time I'm smoking weed the whole time, all through my 20s. Off and on, going from daily pot user to, again, like binging and, yeah, so the process, like I'm going through my own process of recovery and my own journey and my own, um, I'm proud that I've left alcohol behind and I've worked really hard on leaving cannabis behind and not letting these things control me and not letting them not viewing them as medicine anymore has been a big part of it for me. And even recreationally it can't be a lifestyle for me. It's too I'm just too susceptible to the effects where it's just you get a taste and you want more of it. I just can't. The self-control is a struggle for me with that kind of stuff. And that's something I've worked really hard at acknowledging and owning and exploring and trying to heal and recover and grow and learn. And that's all this is. I'm not an authority on it by any means. I'm just kind of along for the ride, trying to contribute in any way I can. Okay, let's kind of like skim back through this and reflect a little bit on it more. I'm just pacing around the studio, man. Yeah, I had the feeling like an alien. That's something I've heard Eminem say and lots of other people. He's in recovery. He's been sober forever. And yeah, so right off the bat, like just feeling you're different, out of place, and you don't belong. And that's not just addicts. That's just like, I think, sensitive people in general. people with trauma or neglect. Same thing, I guess. Just scanning here, guys. Yeah, they're filling the need. We were high, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it became the problem. Just with like the surgery I talked about. Where, yeah, that's the thing with the recreational thing too, is you think you can manage it. I was re-listening when I was like uploading the stuff yesterday. I was like, yeah, I should have said something about the idea that we think we can manage like a little taste. I'll just have a little drink. I'll just have a just one hit. And that we like trick ourselves into thinking we can manage this thing that we really don't have a lot of self-control over, at least starting out, and thinking that we could take a break. What do I hear all the time? People, Natalie would say this. I don't know. I can't remember the term. I think it's just like you take a smoke break or a tolerance break. That's what it is. Tolerance break. And you're like, well, I just won't drink for a while, or I won't smoke weed or do whatever fucking drug you're doing for a while. And then, I'll just dabble. I'll just be a dabbler, and I'll just, I could control it. I could just have a little snack, a little taste. And that has not really been true for me. I think I have had periods where I do see I was using less or more in control. And I think you see that too with people who go to rehab, where they go multiple times, and that's not a failure. I think a lot of us know that. A lot of people don't know that. The going over repeatedly, it's not a failure. It's adjustments. It's learning. It's falling and getting up again. You're gonna make mistakes. Keep at it. Keep getting up. Keep pushing through. Make those notes. Make those adjustments. Try again. Take another run at it. I fucking moved all the way back to Iowa, people, in like October of last year, 2023. And I was like, I'm in love with California. I never want to leave, but because of this situation, these situations I keep finding myself in, it felt so impossible. I was like, I don't want to leave. I can't go back to Iowa. It felt like the only option. I ended up doing that. I got back to Iowa. Hated it, immediately depressed. Immediately wanted to leave again. And I had to go through that to learn what was worth fighting for. And to me, I learned really quick and brutally. It was pretty brutal, that I cannot live in Iowa. It's like physically I can't do it. So there was going through that transition was really horrible, but I found work back out here. I found somewhere to stay out here. And I keep making it happen, people. So I took another run at it. I thought I would have to live in Iowa for like 5 years and get out of debt and save money and then come back again and make another run at it and try again. I made it happen within like a month and a half. So it's possible. It's possible. You just have to keep doing your research and putting in the effort and reaching out to people, apply for those jobs, make those phone calls, return those phone calls, return those emails, send those emails, check every website, check every fucking resource, talk to your friends and family and, medical, your therapist and sponsors and whatever. Make this shit happen. It's fucking brutal, but I've pulled myself out of these situations multiple times. It's possible. It's heartbreaking. It's exhausting. You might want to fucking die. You might get really angry and really sad. But it's possible. You gotta want it. You have to want it. You have to keep nurturing that desire. Because if you know it's healthy for you, you must pursue it. Yeah, don't let it die. It's been big for me. Jesus Christ, I'm gonna cry like every one of these. 365 uploads of David crying. I'm wiping my tears away. Sense of emptiness. Yeah, the sense of empty. I would feel the sense of emptiness when I was high. Because there's this kind of guilt. I think people relate to that. It's like you know the drug of choice is causing issues. But other things are causing issues in your life too. So you're like, well, I'll do the fucking drug and I'll feel better about those other issues. Even though I know the drug is an issue, the other issues are bigger, so the drug will help me feel better. And then you do the drug and immediately there's like this guilt or regret or remorse or shame associated with that. And then it's like, how is this fun? How is this helping me relax? How is this heightening or it's heightening the anxiety? But a lot of times it would like kind of amplify those fears or whatever it is that the emptiness that you're trying to address, or the boredom or whatever. And it can like really negate any, it just it just makes it messier. It's more muddled, and you're adding layers to something when I think we need to be taking the layers away and simplifying and streamlining. We're adding more to it. So that can be confusing because you're like, no, I thought I was helping myself. I thought I would feel better if I got high. And then you feel worse, or maybe the next day you feel worse because you have to deal with the symptoms or the side effects and just the feeling, the thoughts over and over and over and over, like, I gotta stop drinking, I gotta stop smoking, I gotta stop drinking, I gotta stop smoking. And just all the extra side effects that come with those, like whether it's like you're eating excessively or you're going to sleep with alcohol just burning a fucking hole in your stomach and in your esophagus. I would wake up with like acid in my mouth, like almost like the acid reflux stuff. It's fucking horrible, and you get the munchies if you're smoking. You get lethargic. You what do they call it? Like adonia or something? I don't know how to pronounce it. When you're like become unmotivated by things in life. It's scary stuff. Made me just think of Barry Bright. Barry, it's Barry Bright from Rob Dyrdek would do that on Fantasy Factory. um, yeah, let me see what else I got here. Looking at my screen. Willing to take steps in the right direction. That's huge. Something different. We'll get to the higher power stuff. The stuff in the right direction I'm huge on, and I've said that multiple times, where I think if you have pure intentions, correct intentions, healthy intentions, that's all I think it takes. Steering the boat in the right direction. With the intent to steer the boat in the right direction, I think you might not get it like, don't always get what you want, you get what you need or something. I think that correlates with that, where it's like you're just trying to go the right direction, and maybe it won't be perfect or meet your expectations, which you should always kind of keep in check and really work on. You can always hope for the best, but plan for the worst. So really work on those expectations and mitigating those. I think as long as you're trying to go in the right direction, people will get something good. There's something will come out of that. And sometimes it's like what I keep seeing in my life over and over is it's always last minute. And you're kind of like to the breaking point of like, this is not going to work out. This isn't going to work. This is like a fucking mess. Everything's falling apart. It's a disaster. It's painful. It's suffering. Keep trying to steer it in the right direction. Just don't lose that focus, and don't lose the hope of like, I know this is what's best. This is what's best. This is as good as I can do. This is like where I kind of need to go. I'm trying to steer the thing. You're trying to like force it and get that leverage and push and pull, and you're grasping at whatever. I get it. So yeah, I think it'll be gradual. A lot of times I see it's last minute, and it all comes together last minute. When I left Iowa back to California last year, it all happened in like a week. I got the official job offer. I found somewhere to stay. And we had posted some stuff online to sell. Me and Andrew, my best friend, my rock. And sold some stuff to help like gas money and hotels and food. Andrew saved my life. And then out here again, like, even before that, back in I want to say it was, I don't remember what year it was. I don't know. I want to say it was 2020, 2022, or our lease was up in La Mesa. I can't even remember now. That doesn't sound right. Anyway, like when Ashley and my relationship was, she decided it was done, and again, I needed to find work and somewhere to move in a very short amount of time. And again, that happened kind of it all kind of came together last minute. And then I'm seeing that again today in the last couple weeks, where when my relationship ended with this other girl, Natalie, after 6 months, same thing. I had like a week to fucking find somewhere to go. Less than a week. Find some. It was like a couple of days because she just kept fucking pushing it more and more. Because it's just like, yeah, it's just a fucking couple days to find somewhere to stay that I could afford, and dealing with job interviews, trying to get a job, driving across the fucking state of California. It was a mess, dude. I lost like all. It's maddening. I really had to like keep myself in check again, because it's so easy to spiral, and I just had to keep at it, and just you just have to become methodical and persistent with finding like what steps you have to take to survive and to cope. Otherwise, you will be destroyed. And so I guess I am grateful that I have this kind of drive to survive, even though I've really struggled with a lot of self-doubt and depression and like suicidal ideation over my life. That I keep, that I've said it again, and I'll continue saying it, that if you have experienced joy in your life and you know it can be good, that has been like a huge part for me to stay motivated and anchor myself to that. Because when everything feels like it's really unstable and it's falling apart, you must anchor yourself to something stable. And whether that's a past joy that you believe you can replicate or duplicate and do it again and achieve that again, or you have overcome difficulties in your past, you can do it again. And you have to self-generate that stuff. You have to like create that fuel in the fire, and it's a lot. And some people don't know how to do it and are still learning to do it. They might have not been trained to do it, taught to do it. It's a skill you kind of have to develop. You have to kind of like, you have to want to end this suffering, and not give in to the suffering. That's been a struggle for me because it's just exhausting. It's really easy to just want to give in to the suffering and just like become like really, really cynical and dark, and I'll just fucking pump myself full of drugs and fuck everyone. It's really easy to go down that road for someone like me. All right. The higher power stuff, I've struggled with that. I even said that in some of my meetings, or the groups that at the rehab. I was texting with my therapist. She sent me like a video link, and then so I responded to that. And this is kind of like, she sent me some link for CBS Mornings exploring the state of spirituality. I said, very interesting series. I'm glad they're exploring outside religion. I've written down all my synchronicities for about three years. It's quite a list. I would challenge their claim that lack of religion is giving rise to depression. My experience has been systemic, economic, and social pressure. But I think realistically, being in touch with our version of spirit is very important. Spirituality for me has become as simple as redirecting focus outside my body onto nature, fellow humans, and finding purpose. Because I was raised religious, not Orthodox, evangelical Christian, speaking in tongues, laying on hands to heal, bullshit like that. So I have an issue with the God, higher power. That isn't my higher power. I don't believe in 18 years in the church. I reject that notion wholeheartedly and confidently. I'm agnostic, so I'm kind of like officially on the fence, and I think that's the appropriate place to be. Because I believe in science and the scientific method, and God is just one of those things, man, that we can't prove. It's interesting to talk about and think about, but to talk in certainties about it, I think is really, really dangerous. So for me, it's like my higher power is just kind of like, things bigger than me, which is nature, and getting outside the mind and the body, and focusing it on nature and other people, and what my purpose is to contribute to nature, or contribute to other people, and in that way you're contributing to your mind and your body. That's my belief. That's kind of my experience of what, that's what makes sense to me. And I think it's about as simple as I can make it, and it's about as logical as I can make it, and then it makes the most sense to me, and it's the most functional, and I just can't relate or make it work in ways that I see other people claiming or saying that they're doing it, or their belief structures or whatever. So the lifelong yearning was primarily for knowledge of a higher power. I don't know, man. I don't know if that's something I'm not like really looking for purpose from. I don't know how to say it, like not so much looking for direction as like God. So let me, I guess, because this is referencing the something different we need was a relationship with a loving God, is what this passage says. So again, that's saying that this like higher power is like conscious or capable of love. Love is like an emotion, right? So we're saying we're like personifying this invisible thing that we don't know exists, and we're saying that it's capable of love, and that it's conscious. I don't know. I struggle with that. Even nature, it's like nature's pretty brutal. There's not, nature's in harmony, but it's very brutal at the same time. It's survival of the fittest. So I don't know, man. And it just like, does nature have love? It's just kind of, it's odd. I just struggle with the personifying of like this invisible entity that is so powerful creator of the universe. I don't know. It's like, I don't think that's what I'm seeking. I think for me a lot of the emptiness was coming from my parents of like not getting the nurturing I needed from them. Um, it was always negative attention. It was rarely, at least as I entered my teens, it was like almost exclusively negative attention, almost never any positive attention. And if it was positive attention, it was there was like this like asterisk of um, there was like a clause or something that was like, well, you're only getting this positive attention if you obey us or if you go to church or something. So to put those kind of like constraints on someone is damaging, especially from that parental relationship. So I think for me, it wasn't so much like I dealt a little bit with when I decided I didn't really accept religion anymore. I didn't believe in it. I'm not going to practice it. I'm not going to revisit it. I'm not going to pray. I'm not going to read the fucking Bible. I'm not going to do any of that stuff anymore. There wasn't like a huge sense of loss. It was just kind of like dealing with the shame of like, am I going to get punished by God for this? Because I was told my whole life I needed like heaven and hell, and God will punish you if you don't accept Jesus as your savior and believe in this stuff in your heart and practice it. So I had to kind of deal with moving through that and coping with that and learning about all that. But I didn't feel like an emptiness really, which was interesting. The emptiness for me has always come from like feeling abandoned by my parents. Just like gaslit and abused by my parents, and just that abandonment and neglect and all those ways really created the emptiness for me. And because I didn't have the access to, I didn't go to public school my whole life, so I didn't have access to like peers and the outside world very often. It just kind of created a lot of emptiness. And I think that puts you in that kind of isolation, I think puts you at risk for codependency. And yeah, so for me, that's been my source of emptiness and finding purpose and finding stability and finding like things that fulfill you in other ways, like the work you're doing and your hobbies and relationships. And to me, all that stuff feels more like higher powers than God ever felt. And that's weird to say because it was so fundamental. It was like an everyday going to church 3 times a fucking week, being told the same fucking messages all the fucking time by everybody in the church. And then going home and hearing that shit and going to family reunions and seeing family members who are saying the same shit. It was relentless. So for me to turn away from all that was huge. So it feels kind of strange to like say that like hobbies and relationships with people and finding purpose and what you're doing in your daily life and all that stuff feels more like God than God ever felt. It's I don't know how to describe it other than that. It doesn't really seem like a higher power. It doesn't, but it feels more fulfilling and it feels more real and it feels more constructive. The religion thing never felt constructive to me. So I do struggle with these passages of the referencing a higher power because it feels religious, even though I know they're claiming it's not. I think the whole AA thing was like started kind of based in religion, biblical stuff. I forget, I read up a little bit on it, but it never really felt fulfilling or like real or constructive is what I said. It felt like a wasted time, even as a child, where I was more susceptible to those beliefs and that kind of expectations of my parents and all the people I was around to be a good Christian. To the, do you hear God's voice talking to you? Do you hear Jesus talking to you? Do you feel his love? And I'm just like, no, not really. It never felt real and it never felt constructive. It just felt like a lot of like people artificially manufacturing and creating these ideas that I think were like replacing like tangible, real things. And some of the messages in church were good and useful and positive and healthy, but it was a small percentage because it was just so fucking watered down with all the bullshit of the people's own personal interpretations and demands, and just so convoluted with I don't know, just like so much manipulation and exploitation of their own like desires. It felt very self-serving to the ego, and it never felt constructive to me. I felt more empty and hollow in 18 years of church than I have outside. And part of that is like fulfilling yourself and filling in that emptiness has been very like emotional. It's been a very emotional journey. And that has felt more rewarding and empowering and fulfilling than religion ever did. So that's my advice for people, is to really like be careful with the religious stuff. The relationship with the loving God, I really challenge some of that thinking. My higher powers is something different that's always been missing in my life. I'll use the steps to restore that missing ingredient to my spirit. Alright guys, there you go. I take it all with a little bit of, the scrub jay has returned. He's big. He's up in the pine tree outside my window. Beautiful blue bird. I encourage you all to Google a picture of a scrub jay. I think when I was re-listening to my post from yesterday, the 12th, I sounded like I said, what did I say? A squub dray or something? A squub? I don't know. I pronounced it in this weird way that I was just like, God, I sound so stupid. Alright guys, I'm kind of tapped out. I don't really have anything else to add. I say all this stuff to hopefully add some insight. I think it's good to challenge belief systems so that we're not like constantly, but like I think it is good to just kind of like, does this make sense what this is saying? To just take everything at face value, Usually I say take their word for it, or take it at face value until they prove otherwise. And then that's kind of my experience. Is like I feel like I've proved this thing otherwise, at least for me. So it's not to add doubt or create instability for anyone listening that these things that you believe are all lies, or that these things can't help you. But my experience has just been like, I've just kind of shared it with you. So I hope that at least might give insight or something useful to people that might have doubts or be confused or not relate to the God stuff in the recovery process, and not have like guilt or shame or a feeling that they're a failure or not doing it right just because they don't relate to it, or because they or they might come from a religious background or something. So yeah, hopefully this helps someone out there. I'm in such a crazy transition. Like, this stuff feels pretty unpolished to me. I miss having music in my posts. It was a little exhausting to always come up with like new music. But YouTube copyrights everything now, so I've been like transitioning where I live, moving around, and I'm in between jobs and dealing with trauma from moving and trauma from these jobs and trauma from this relationship I'm just out of ending so quickly. So it's just been years of me trying to recover from these kind of failures or setbacks, and trying to get in a groove again is going to be huge for my recovery and for my healing and growth. So hopefully I can kind of get back in a flow state and get some quality stuff out there. But if it's not for you, it's not for you. And this is just for the people that, this is for me, this is for people, for myself, and for people like me. And I think it's as simple as that. So it's like, you either get it or you don't, and there's no shame if, one way or the other. So yeah, I want it to be all polished and more entertaining, but I also like, there's so much content I have on my end, and I'm confident that I can keep creating new content. So it's a lot for me to like keep up on, especially like if I'm going to start working full time again. So but hopefully being single for a long time and like living in one place for a long time. I know I was in Ramona for like a year and a half, but that job was fucking brutal. Being a cook, I just didn't have the energy, and then I was like seeking I think fulfillment from other people, and wanted to get in another relationship. And so I was just kind of like, and I was stressed from having roommates, and I was just like, my mind was just not in creative mode. It was it was just in a different phase and a different stage in a different mode. And I'm trying to get back to like my roots of what I really more of what I want to be doing versus like just this need of whatever it is, just like breathing. And I've had to prioritize so many other things. So I want to get back into this and being a creative person again. I feel like I kind of lost like my sense of humor for a long time, and just dealing with the the sadness and the trauma of everything I've been going through the last couple years. So hopefully I'm back, baby. I'm trying. trying to revitalize, revamp, renew, regrow my hair. Yeah, it's a journey, man. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. Keep learning, keep taking action. I'll talk to you guys later.